Okay, so I'll cut the start of the VOD here. Hi, welcome to the G4G5 tournament finals. This is match number 2. We've got Sebosch, Dejf, Bigfoot, and Turambar. And to recap, the game 1 was extremely close. Everyone was within a point of each other. There were a couple, little mistakes that players pointed out and stuff like that. Sebosch was first at 50, and then Dejf and Turambar had 49 and 48, and Bigfoot had 47. So they're all within 1 point of each other. So basically, you can ignore the scores of that and just of the first game, and you don't have to target anyone or anything. You just can play your own game, try to win. Ultimately, if you win, that's going to be the best outcome. So we have, looking at the start of this, we got Dejf played the Rooster. Now, Rooster is a card that lets you guarantee yourself the first move of the game, which can be very good, especially if you need Reedstone food or you need to play an occupation in round 1. The cost is that it makes a bonus point available for anyone who goes on starting player in round 14. Probably, knowing Dejf, he's got a plan for a miner to play at that point. This is an interesting start, very interesting. We've got 2 low quality cards, I have to say, in the Cattle Whisperer and the Greengrocer. Cattle Whisperer, just one of the problems with it is that one cattle is not really very useful to you. You really need 2, and most of the time you just end up eating it for 4 food because you don't have space to hold. So interesting play here from Bigfoot. I wonder if he's got some cards that are going to combo with him playing cattle. And then Greengrocer for Sebosch. Reason this card's not that strong is that normally you don't want to go on the take 1 grain spot too often because it's just such a weak card. Hello to everyone watching live in Twitch chat as well. Thanks for hanging out. My plan will be that whenever I'm recording a video, I will stream it live as I'm recording it on Twitch, and then be posting it up to YouTube. So if you want to interact with me when I'm actually making the video, that would be awesome. Just check out twitch.tv/play_agricola. Also, if you're watching me on YouTube and I'm live on Twitch, you should get a little pop-up or something that's going to say I'm live. I'll also try, especially if I'm planning on a decently long stream, to put up videos. All right, taking a look at the rest of that first round, we had Sebosch go on grain vegetable, so that's actually pretty good action for round 1, taking a grain and a vegetable. And then we had Bigfoot plow a field. So pretty typical start. Yeah. We have Dejf not playing any occupations, of course, which is always... which is you always wonder at. And Turambar, I imagine he would really like to get that 2 read, just because then he can he'll have that first growth locked up. Nope, Bigfoot decides to grab the 2 read, so I imagine we'll see Turambar play an occupation here. Yeah, and of course it's the Perpetual Student. This card is a fantastic card because you get you play an occupation and you get 2 food. Now the drawback, of course, is that you play a random occupation. Now the key to this is that normally you draft Perpetual Student first, and then you only play occupations that do not have a specific timing. You play occupations like a card like Lady in Waiting, which you have to play in stage 1. You don't want to play with Perpetual Student. A card like Berry Picker, where to maximize the value, you want to get it out in round 1. You probably don't play with Perpetual Student. You want to take cards that are going to activate in the mid or late game, more often than not. So Perpetual Student, quite a strong card. Here's another miner out here for Bigfoot. Well, I talked about not being able to hold those cattle. Well, that's not going to be an issue for him. We have Bigfoot playing the Pig Wallow. So I imagine that was his plan all along, and that's why he played the field. I would imagine he's going to try and grab 2 or 3 sheep, especially because the first fireplace has not been grabbed yet. So I bet that we see that from Bigfoot, that he plans on taking 4 clay next round. Now, I just got finished talking about how you don't play occupations that have timings on them. Now, Stroller doesn't have a hard cap on the timing, but certainly to get the most out of him, you want him in stage 1. This is going to give him a resource each harvest for the rest of the game, which can be quite good. And then Sebosch plows a field. Excuse me. We have Sebosch plowing a field. So I imagine Sebosch is going to plow one more time and sow before the first harvest. And anytime you can have a planted grain and a planted vegetable before the first harvest, you are in a very good spot. The other nice thing about a card like Stroller is that, you can use it to get that second read, which can often be difficult to get, especially if you go on Raidstone Food. Yeah. I have to say, what is also a little unusual is how many times Occupation has been passed up on. I guess the main reason for that is that Dejf hasn't played any Occupations yet, and which he's done in I've played 3 games recently, and I'm pretty sure every game I've played with Dejf, he has passed on playing Occupations early. So I wonder if that's whenever he can, at least. I wonder if that's his new strategy that he's wanting to try out. So what's interesting to me here is that I wonder if we don't have a little bit of a tactical error here from Bigfoot, just because Dejf can buy the fireplace and then he has to grab sheep, but then Bigfoot won't have a way to eat them. I guess most likely 4 food will be available on fishing or traveling players or Reedstone Food, but you always want to be careful about being forced into a spot where you don't have many actions left and you still need to take food in order to feed it a harvest. Gem Hunter randomed by Turambar. This card is quite weak most of the time, because you have to give up a resource to gain a resource. You have to give up a clay to get a stone, but if you need to get early stone, and especially a lot of it, can be quite good. Problem is, you just don't normally want to take clay that many times in the early game. So if you do, and if you do end up doing that, it puts you behind. But Gem Hunter, it's fine, especially with a card like Perpetual Student. Playing it, you get food from it, and you're going to get a couple stone throughout the game. So absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sebosch wondering what he should go for. Well, I think he should plow a field and then sow next round. I think it's pretty clear that Turambar is not going to be taking for food. He'd probably rather play an occupation. This is interesting. I wonder if the cards in this draft were all just really bad. No, I shouldn't say really bad, but just, I mean, the best card we've seen by far is Perpetual Student. Other than that, not much fantastic stuff. We have Steamer played by Sebosch. Steamer is honestly pretty weak because it only lets you convert grain into 2 food, which is a very low conversion rate. Even a cooking hearth gives you grain into 3 food. Now it does let him do something like take 2 reed and then build the first room, which I think he's going to be happy about. And interestingly, we see Dejf pass on building the fireplace, knowing, of course, that Bigfoot is going to grab the animals if he does, and Bigfoot gets that fireplace. So, I don't know what I was talking about, tactical error. Bigfoot's obviously in a fine spot to play the fireplace and then grab the sheep. There would be no reason for Dejf to build a fireplace. Yeah. So ignore that. I don't know what I was talking about. Sebosch grabs the first room. He ends up having to steam his grain and vegetable. But if he gets the first growth, he's going to have more actions, and then that's not going to be such a bad thing. Having an not unblockable, but functionally or practically unblockable 6 or 5 food action is pretty good. I mean, it did take a couple things to get set up, but yeah, not bad. When you get the first, when you have the choice of first family growth or get early crop sown, you almost always want the first family growth. If you can get it. Now, if you're not going to get the first family growth and you get those crops sown, then that's a very good way to come back, Sort of interior design, I think this is a very cool card. Whenever you play an improvement, you can pay an additional building resource of the printed cost to receive 3 food. So basically, anytime you play an improvement with a wood cost, you can pay an extra wood to get 3 food, which is a very good conversion rate, especially if you have a way of getting extra resources. That can be quite good. Okay, so Peon, this isn't the greatest card, but I think this card is pretty good, especially with some combos. Sebosch would have, well, maybe he would have liked it with the green grocer. Card that lets you bake bread whenever you go on take a grain and sow whenever you go on vegetable. Basically, the big thing that Peon is usually amazing for is that it saves you the sow action. That's pretty handy. And we do have family growth come out in round 5, and of course Dejf decides to build a room, unsurprisingly. And Sebosch will grab that first family growth. Oh, Bigfoot chose to beg 4 in order to get wood in order to build his room next. So I imagine we have almshouse that's going to come out for Bigfoot, and then he just simply grabbed 4 sheep at the next round. So that's pretty handy. Oh, this is cool. Lettuce patch. This is quite a good card. Especially nice little combo with the peon that he's going to be able to go on, take a vegetable, sow it right away, and then even without a way to eat the vegetable, he can turn it into 4 foods. So basically going on the vegetable spot is going to be an 8 food action for him over 2 harvests, which is quite cool. And then cooking hearth comes out for Dejf. This is, I mean, there's no reason not to, and he turns a clay into 3 food. Um, yeah, I mean, having a cooking hearth is always good. Just makes feeding so much easier throughout the game. So, but if it was totally for food reasons, then there is a 5 food traveling players available. Now, admittedly, that's a one-time use versus multiple-time use cooking hearth. Yeah, it's interesting. So one thing to note is that because Bigfoot passed on taking starting player, which means he's going to get jumped in the family growth queue by Turambar. Um, Simply because he chose. Not simply because, but he chose to take 4 sheep, thinking that those were maybe a little vulnerable. Um, Yeah, so I wonder if we're going to see Bigfoot starting player next round, or perhaps he's going to hope and look at the other players' farms and see, hey, I don't think you have the resources to build a room. I'm going to hold off one more round and then won't have to starting player in order to get his next family growth because, Def has 0 wood room resources, same with Sebosch, so they're quite a ways away. But this is a card that'll certainly make that gap smaller. Head of the Revolution, nice forward card. Um, Usually with a card like this, you only do a couple fields and a huge fencing, or you have a plow and you plow a whole bunch and then do some fencing. Um, I also missed the Mountain Cave. Mountain Cave, good card, turns wood into stone. Um, at the worst case, it's a food for a point, which is usually pretty good. Not quite as good as a point, but it's all right. Now these players are trying to call the game already. I would caution them from doing that just because they should look at the last game, and I think people would have said, "Hey, this guy's in a huge lead. This guy's in a huge lead," but didn't necessarily turn out that way on the final farms. They were within 4 point spread between from first to fourth. So Def plays the 2 food miner guest on family growth. So this is a nice miner. You pay 2 food to gain an action, and when there's lots of good stuff on the board, which there usually is in round 7, then you're quite happy. One of the reasons that there's usually quite good stuff on the board is because the stone has come available in that stage and hasn't gotten taken yet, probably. Usually people are focused on family growth, so wood piles are getting to 4 or more. Clay's started to build up again. There's going to be a 5 and a 4 clay pile. So yeah, I am surprised that Def still hasn't played an occupation. I'll be interested to see if he's got Head of the Revolution yet, or not Head of the Revolution, Wealthiest European yet again, which of course he played last game in order to get a very early stone house. Well, not a very early. Yeah, I guess it was pretty early. So, finally, someone takes that huge pile of food. It ends up being Sebosch. I guess the other players just didn't think they needed it, which is kind of funny to me. And there we do have Bigfoot deciding to starting player. Um, Although, he didn't have to, but he does get his alms off. No one can threaten no one can build before him next round, but it's probably he just wanted to get the almshouse out, get it out of the way. Also gives him the potential chance to do something like take 4 wood first move, and then see, hey, no one else can build a room yet. Oh, I'm gonna redstone food and then build 2 rooms in round 8 and double grow 2 times in a row. If he can do something like that, that'd be quite handy. Although I have a feeling that yeah, he might be able to. Although we have Turambar. No, you know what? Turambar is going to family growth next move, and Bigfoot's right before him, so there's no way Turambar can build before him in round 8. So I think this is a really awesome move here by Bigfoot. So we're going to see Bigfoot try to grab Reed with his second move, and then in round 8, round 9, he's going to be able to grow 2 times in a row, which will be awesome for him. Good play. Good looking ahead by him, I think. Again, surprised by the lack of occupations played this game. I guess when you see like Cattle Whisperer played and Greengrocer played, then you have a sense of, the strength of the drafts that were not looking all that impressive. Miners are okay, just the occupations are not looking all that strong. So here's Sebosch doing what I was talking about earlier, going for grain vegetable in order to sow it. Don't know if he needed to do it first move. He might have been able to grab 5 clay, but I guess he can always grab 5 clay next round. No, he won't really be losing anything there. Be interested to see if Sebosch does decide to use his mountain cave. With Head of the Revolution, he might be planning on doing a lot of fencing, in which case, you need a lot of wood in order to do that. So then you wouldn't want to be turning it into stone. Okay, this is cool. Okay. Well, I'm not sure about this, actually. We have Bigfoot decide to build a room this round and 2 stables instead of taking Reedstone food and then double building in the next round. He might be thinking he wants to be able to hold 2 breeding pair, or he wants to allow his... Well, yeah, this is... I think it's probably not the way I would have played it. We have Child's Toy. This is a handy 1 resource for 2 points card. The cost being that you have to pay. He's gonna have to pay his newborns 1 more food, which I think is not gonna be when you have a card like Perpetual Student. That's not so bad. It's worth the cost. Turning a clay into 2 points, especially, is really good. Because normally you have like 1 or 2 extra clay at the end of the game. We have wood delivery men for Sebosch. So this is going to feed that large amount of fencing he's going to want to do. Don't imagine... Actually, I shouldn't say that. He might play... he might still build a 4th room. Build a 4th wood room. Interested to see what he chooses to do there. And unsurprisingly, he does decide to grab to sow his goods. I think one interesting here from Dejf, especially, I've noticed him do this, and he might have done the same thing last. Actually, he definitely did because he played the clay oven, ceramics, pottery. Is him deciding to use 2 actions in a round to grab clay. Now this does a couple things. One, obviously, it starves the game of your opponents of clay. It makes it more difficult for them to renovate, and but also it has the effect of not letting them play major improvements, especially the pottery and the clay oven. It basically gives you guarantees that you're going to get those things. And I think, especially when you can turn a clay into 3 food, which, yeah, Dejf is choosing to do with the interior designer, that that can be quite nice. And if he then plays the clay oven, he can turn another clay into 3 food, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I would be interested to know if Bigfoot just didn't think he'd be able to pull it off. A little surprised he didn't decide to double build and grow two rounds in a row. Maybe he's thinking just wouldn't have enough wood in order to still have a good farm afterwards. That's possible. So this is a cool card. Peasant. Whenever you build a major improvement, you can pay a food to plow a field. With the perpetual student, the food is not such a big cost. Um, so being able to, you know, play fireplace, plow a field, upgrade to cooking hearth, plow a field, play some sort of major when you reno, plow a field. Usually this is going to be 2 or 3 fields over the course of the game, which is quite nice. And one handy thing for it is that it's plow not on a plow space. So, it's not as easy to block. And usually at the end of the game, the plow spaces can be quite busy. Although with Head of the Revolution, I doubt that'll be the case because people will probably play for Head of the Revolution and then fill up their farm and then won't have any room to plow. Might see a little bit of that. Boar breeding from Bigfoot, not especially impressive. Does give him a boar. If he okay, so we might see Bigfoot choose to, fence 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then he would be able to hold 3 breeding pairs of animals extremely early on. Okay, so you know what? I bet Bigfoot has dung collector, I think the card is. Basically, it says when you have 2 breeding pairs of animals, you can plow a field. In the harvest, or else the other one, which says whenever you breed 2 or 3 pairs, you get 1 or 2 points, bonus points. So might see something like that. Here's the peasant coming into effect already with the well. Handy. It's also pretty much the only major, well, not the only major I should say, but the best major I would say that doesn't cost clay, because as I talked about earlier, Dejf is hoarding all of that clay. 2-read grab for Sebosch, so almost certainly going to build a room with his last action, I would imagine. Unless Turambar beats him to it, which he might do so. He can if he wants. It's just a question of if he wants to or not, because he does have only 5 wood. Whereas Sebosch has, 8 wood plus the 6 incoming from wood deliverymen. So Turambar does decide to build that 4th room. I guess he figures with 4 people it won't be too difficult for him to grab big wood piles. And the other factor is if people are playing for Head of the Revolution, then they're filling up their farm a little earlier than they would normally, and then sometimes you can sneak in at the end and get big wood piles. Um, with Peasant as well, it'll be pretty easy for him to plow 5 fields, and if you plow 5 fields, you only really need 10 or 12 wood to maximize, or not to maximize, but to get very efficient points from fencing. So, yeah, not, I don't think a bad decision. Now this is a little surprising. We have Bigfoot first move taking fishing. How much food was on there? Especially considering, I guess 6 food. Oh, that's quite good. Um, the reason I say it's surprising is just because he's the only one that's holding and breeding animals, and the only other person who could theoretically take animals is Dejf. So normally you wouldn't expect something like that to happen, but there is the take a vegetable and sow play that I talked about earlier. Quite good. Um, then we have Sebosch focusing on that Head of the Revolution, choosing to plow every opportunity he can. Um, yeah, so with that, I'll be interested to see if he does build another room that's going to set his big fencing way back, and he might get jumped on that, but he doesn't. Dejf grabs 4 clay. Now, 4 clay is probably going to might be 12 food for him with interior designer, more likely 8 food with pottery, but he has the resources in order to be able to build the clay rooms, so we might see him do that. Oh, cool. We have a quite nice G5 card, the Handmade. If you have all of the types of all the types of animals on your farm, you can do a family growth even without room. So very cool. Of course, the difficulty normally is being able to hold each of the 3 types of animal. Well, I shouldn't say that. Normally, the difficulty is getting cattle at an early enough time to use it. But of course, the cattle whisperer solves that problem. So very cool, very cool. What are they talking about? Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about in chat. Something about handmade. Joinery grabbed by Dejf. Oh. Oh, I see. Turambar didn't read the card, so he passed on family growth. Okay, I see. Yeah, okay. So he didn't know that the card is handmade, and then he said, like, Bigfoot played handmade, which should force Turambar to grow right away. Yeah, you know what? That's the kind of thing that just becomes automatic. That sometimes people like it's one of those skills when you're playing Agricola where you have family growth available, you hold off until the last minute, and then as soon as someone else is threatening you, not just with family growth but with any big action, you wait until someone else is threatening you, and then you play the action that you need to or whatever. And we have Sebosch going on starting player. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so that's going to turn out to be quite a costly mistake for Turambar. That's not good. I wonder. Yeah, we won't say much more about that. There it is. There's the wealthiest European. This must be Def's new favorite card because I think I've seen him play it a lot the past couple games that I've watched and been in, and of course he played it last game, this tournament as well. It's a good card. The problem is most of the time you want to play an occupation in stage 1, which makes wealthiest European, which you can't do both. Now, if you draft wealthiest European first, then you don't pick any stage 1 cards unless you really need to deny them from your opponents. So I imagine we're going to see Def take enough resources to renovate to stone and build a improvement. He also might build another. He could build another room. Yeah, it looks like he's planning on. Actually, I don't know. That's difficult to predict. He has 2. The thing is, he has 2 read. Why does he only have 2 read? If he was going to build a room and then reno, he would want 3 read, of course. If he's not going to reno, then, well, if he's not going to build a room, then I mean, he'll have 1 extra read, which there's nothing wrong with. Just, anyways, we have mini pasture come out for Sebosch, so he gets to. Gets to move that little bit closer to filling up his farm and grabbing the Head of the Revolution bonus. So this has been quite a strong game by Sebosch. He is lacking a little bit on improvement points, but the Head of the Revolution, the five fields that he's going to have are going to for sure make up for that. And, he's got 4 rooms and 4 stone already, so getting to that last stone thing should be fairly easy for him. Or getting to the stone house should be pretty easy for him, I would think. And then the green grocer, or not, that action's not too bad when you are able to plow and sow. So Sculptor's Son comes out from Dejf, so we see part of why he was so focused on grabbing those major improvements. Yeah, I think that play is pretty cool. He did that one round where all he did was just take clay. He took 5 clay and 4 clay, I think it was, and it just it has the effect of guaranteeing the pottery, which usually the pottery is a pretty good minor improvement or major improvement to get. Usually the best, because there's surplus of clay, and then once people have renovated to clay houses and gotten a cooking hearth or fireplace, they don't have use for it anymore, which means the clay piles accumulate, and then you have a nice 2 or 3 point clay grab at the end of the game. Stockman from Dejf. This is interesting. I guess the Sculptor's Son is going to let him have enough wood to play it. But really, he's got an almost totally empty farm, no fields, no fences, and only 3 wood. Now, admittedly, he does get extra 2 wood every grab. So if he gets that 3 wood available, it's going to be the equivalent of 5. But even with that, he's probably not going to be able to fence until round 13 or round 14, which, yeah, Turambar grabs wood. So I think Dejf might be in a... Okay, he has a cool setup, but I don't think he has enough wood. It's a problem. Unless he has a card like Fence Dealer. He can grab 2 wood each round and it'll be 4 wood for him, which is fine. If he does that 3 times, that puts him at 15. But that's even that is only enough to fence. It's not enough to fence and build stables with. So, have a nice. Anytime you have forest pasture, you want to be able to grab 2 boar, and Sebosch does that, so he's pretty happy about that. And Bigfoot does his first plow. Still has 3 actions left this round, although I think he's going to run out of stuff to do. He'll probably grab starting player with one of his moves, and just spends the other moves grabbing vegetable. He's going to have to do it at some point, so may as well do it now. We'll probably see him plow, maybe, or not plow, fence with one of these last 2 actions. Fence and then starting player, and that would be a fine round for him. Problem is, you don't usually want a starting player in round 10. You want a starting player in round 11. So there's starting player from Turambar, and he plays that guest. That guest is getting around. I think Dejf was the first player to play it, so there's a reason. It's a good minor. You pay 2 food, you go on starting player, and you gain the action that you use to play starting player, and you get the bonus benefit of going on starting player, and that you get the best actions available to you. So, you see, Dejf does decide to build a 4th room, so that's what forced Turambar to starting player, because Dejf would have been able to grow before him. A lot of passing miners this game. Building resources, mini pasture. Get the guest, of course. Sebosch again plowing whenever he is able to. Really focused on making sure that he gets that head of the revolution bonus, which I'm sure he will, just as long as Bigfoot doesn't have a plow. Wow, Market Woman. Okay, I was saying that the cards in this game were not very good. Now we're starting to see, Wood Deliveryman, Head of the Revolution came out. Market Woman. Market Woman is a very good card. Um, if you can activate it on a minor improvement, that's amazing. Even if you just have to use an action to take a vegetable, grain, and a grain, that is an excellent action. You compare that to the green grocer, and it's an extra grain. Now, admittedly, vegetable does come out much later than grain, but you get an extra grain, and you can activate it on a minor. Um, yeah, Market Woman's really, really very good card. We had Stonehouse reconstruction from Bigfoot, so we did do that starting player that I was talking about, starting player round 10. The effect of this is usually not that amazing because often you want to hold renovate to round 14, Reno Major, because it gives you one of the things that happens a lot of the time is that the action spaces get filled up in round 14. So you want to be one of the two people that renovates because that means you're guaranteed a fence action that no one else can take or a major improvement that no one else can take. So the effect usually isn't the greatest, but it's a stone for a point, which is fine. That's the conversion. Good conversion. And if it saves you an action, and he's not going to play any majors, then it's great. Then it's a stone for a point and it saves you an action. Problem is that usually it doesn't save you an action. You know. Looks like Dejf's setting up to Reno and play Stone Oven. Imagine we're going to see him taking a vegetable and two grain first so that he can bake one or two of them. Sebosch gets this huge sew off. Really, really fantastic. With the setup that he got to then get the first family growth, that was really good. The Head of the Revolution was huge. That 4 wood action, that was absolutely huge. I think he played it in round 4. It's just perfect. Because he had his feeding set up with Steamer Greengrocer, and then once he grew, he just focused the rest of the game on plowing whenever he could, and then grabbing wood so that he could get that Head of the Revolution bonus. And a lot of the times when you play for Head of the Revolution bonus, you see people pass up on opportunities like they make their pastures cover 9 spaces. Well, okay, you're missing out automatically if you do that. Even if you fence 15, you're automatically missing you're missing out on 2 potential points from your pasture, and then on top of that, you're capping yourself on the number of field points you can get. So fields are often really good because it's 2 points for every field that you plow, and it lets you sow additional crops on there, which is even more points. So so that's normally why we don't see people choose to do that in normal games, unless of course you played a whole bunch of major improvements like Dejf did. So we might see him do that. We had plow sow come out. Probably that's the one that Bigfoot would have preferred, especially with 2 vegetables in his supply. Um, I actually think that the plow, well, maybe the plow is not that important to him because plow sow he took plow sow and plow a field is going to come back to him. Probably Dejf was expected to grab it, but he didn't and is passing it to Turambar. Wow, yeah. Dejf plays Tuileries Gardens. This is a quite a good France deck miner, but it's just I think it's just coming out too late. Although it does combo with Market Woman nicely in that you take a vegetable and get 2 grain as well. So it's a nice combo, but he's only going to be able to use it twice. And he's probably going to have to starting player again in order to guarantee the plow again. So now if you have a card like Hayrake, really like comboing Tuileries Garden with Hayrake. That's a fantastic combo. Or Field Warden. Yeah. So there's Sebosch plowing all his, or fencing all his stuff, grabbing the head of the revolution bonus. Good, making sure that Bigfoot doesn't steal it from him. He waited till the last possible moment and then did it, which is cool. That's the way that you should play Agricola. Agricola. I don't know. I always said it Agricola, like agriculture, but I guess it's a Latin word. Pig breeder from Bigfoot. I actually really like Bigfoot's game. I think it's quite cool. I think what he was really missing though is he was really missing that dung collector or the champion breeder. I think he needed one of those 2 cards to really reward him getting the animals as early as he did. Of course, handmade is a nice reward in and of itself, but I'm not sure that it's gonna be enough. Well, it's definitely not going to be enough compared to Sebosch, but enough compared to the other 2 players, I'm not sure. There's a mini pasture for Dejf. I guess with mini pasture in the game, food wood is not as scarce. Mini pasture, wood delivery man, head of the revolution, sculptor's son. Yeah, there are a lot of cards injecting wood into this game. So, I mean, you still need to spend actions taking long, which, I mean, Turambar wouldn't mind one more. He wouldn't mind a 3 wood take as well. Probably be worth 2 points for him. Depending on if he's planning on plowing again or not. We'll have to see. Oh, there's Cattle Breeder from Sebosch. This is a good card. Probably took it hoping for Cattle Whisperer to come back, actually, I would imagine. Depending on what piles they were in. Cattle Breeder, I think, is a good card in and of itself. At the worst case, it gives you a cattle. Best case, it gives you 2 cattle. And 2 cattle for 1 action is good. And the fact that you can use it to get a cattle early in the game, earlier than you would normally be able to, is quite strong. There's Dejf finally getting to plow his first field of the game. I guess his goal will be to just plow 1 more and then fence off the rest of his farmyard. He does have the stockman, and the stockman would be to pay 4 wood in order to get 6 points. So that's pretty good. But I mean that 4 wood is also going to be worth points when he covers up farmyard spaces. So, interesting. We have Turambar grab a grain instead of plow sow. I guess he didn't have anything to sow, so he's planning on taking a grain and then going on vegetable and sowing the two goods, which is good, good move. There's Sebosch grab his 4 clay. He's finally starting to think about renovating because Dejf, took all the clay out of the game and then was using it to eat and pay for his interior decorator. So Sebosch needs 2 reed in order to be able to get to his stone house. Which he might not get to, actually. We could see him give up on renovating and just buy clay oven and stone oven, which would be starting player action from Dejf. Like I said, I think he needed to do that in order to get another Tuileries Garden activation. Also, it protects his well, it doesn't protect his renovate, actually. There's quite a renovate logjam. Bigfoot, I imagine we'll see Bigfoot renovate here. No, he doesn't have to, but he does choose to. His last reno he can use with Stonehouse reconstruction, so no need to rush that. But we've got Turambar wanting to reno, and so there's no way Sebosch gets to reno here. So I imagine we see him play. Turambar goes for the stone oven, so he is not planning on renovating either. I guess the stone oven is also a plow to him, so that makes a lot of sense with peasant. So that's kind of a cool play. Sebosch saying, hating his life a little bit. I think it's still, not really anything you can say, though. It's a good move from Turambar, especially considering peasant. Certainly, looking at his farm, you would have expected him to reno, but then when Bigfoot renos, he says, okay, next plan, and the next plan is stone oven. So, it very interesting to me that plow sow has gone untaken so far. Wonder if we'll see Dejf do it. Dejf has a couple actions he needs to get. He needs to get his reno fence out. He needs to get his stockman animals. So he needs to go on stable, and he needs to plow a field one more time. So if he can get those 3 things, it's going to be, he'll win. I would think. Should be enough to win if he gets those 3 actions. I mean, Sebosch is sitting at 36 points, but if he doesn't get to reno, he already has he has no negative points. He can't plow. If Sebosch is not able to reno, his point cap is going to be really low. So I think what we need to see here from Sebosch is him maybe block Dejf's stable action. But then that might just end up helping Bigfoot a lot, because Bigfoot is looking, he's sitting at 35, then he renovates to stone 38, still is able to plow a field and breed a bunch of animals, so yeah. And then Turambar 22, once he renovates, or once he fences, that's going to be another 6, 8, 9 points. So he's sitting around 31. So he's a little behind, but yeah, he's a little behind. And he's still got 5 actions left. He can take wood, do something like that. This is a little unusual to me, the way Dejf has chosen to fence. Um, I would have expected him to fence off 9 spaces. It's not like he's going to be able to hold more than 2 breeding pairs. Like, he's not going to get to those numbers, I don't think. So yeah, I wonder what his thinking is there. And I guess I did criticize Bigfoot a little in choosing not to try and build 2 rooms at once. While, I mean, he's having a good game, but everyone's having a good game. I think you need to go for something a little extra. But interestingly, Dejf only sitting at 25 points. Even with the majors that he has now, renovating is going to be 4 points to him. And plowing is going to be another 3 points, plus 2, plus 1. So he's got like 6 points there. Yeah. He could have gotten another point out of fencing differently, which I wonder why he chose not to. And then he's probably going to want to take wood one more time in order to build stables. But stables are not actually worth anything to him because he has the joinery. Yeah. So actually he doesn't get any points when he builds stables, not compared to when he just simply takes animals. It's one of the problems about playing Stockman when you have the joinery. I can see why he did it. He did it because he wanted to play Tuileries Garden. Tuileries. Tuilet. Yeah. Hmm. Well, looks like Seb will get one of his 2 renovations. He's not going to get both. Now, if he has a card like Paved Road, that's going to let him use his 5 stone for 4 points, and that'll be nice consolation. Or something like Ruins, 4 stone for 3 points, something like that. I just think he's probably going to end up with a bunch of unused stone in his hand at the end of the game. I have Def playing a little risky, I think, but I guess there's almost no way that Bigfoot doesn't plow sow here. Especially not considering that he could use the food from the vegetables. Yeah. Then we should see. Imagine we see term. I guess he doesn't have to plow, or I guess he doesn't have to fence. I think he probably does fence so that he can start holding animals, which he does need to do. Yeah, there's the fence. Too bad he's one stone short. Turambar is. He was one stone short of being able to reno fence. That always sucks. Especially with Gem Hunter. You know, it shouldn't be too hard to get one more stone. Sebosch needs to do some math. Trying to figure out. I imagine he's calculating Bigfoot and Dejf's points, especially. No disrespect to Turambar, but just he's a little behind. Yeah, Bigfoot sitting at 37. Dejf is sitting at 30. Yeah, just 30. So imagine Sebosch is looking at what points are available to each of them. You know, Dejf is going to reno and play a major probably, or not play a major, play an improvement. You know, for 4 points. There's family growth still available for 3 points. Sowing is going to be good. Oh, cool. So we have Farmer Straw Hat. I think this is a fantastic card. Main reason, you sow vegetables in round 13. You then play Farmer Straw Hat, harvest them, then you can re-sow those fields. It's really quite a good card. Yes, he did. Wow. Awesome. Awesome combo for Dejf. This is a really sick move. Pole Barns is really strong. You pay 2 wood in order to gain 3 points. And not only that, but you can get a crap ton of animals. So I didn't think Dejf was looking that strong, but then he had Pole Barns in his hands, and he played it on Roost to get the Rooster point as well. Really, really awesome. I should have known. I was sort of looking at his farm and thinking he's not going to get much out of Stockman, but I should know better. Dejf is too good a player to do that. Really awesome play. He gets 3 animals out of it. Really, really nice. Even with that though, it's still going to be a tight game. So Dejf is sitting at like 42 without feeding. Bigfoot sitting at 37 without feeding and breeding. Well, sitting at 40 without feeding and breeding. Turambar is a couple points behind, looking like 33. And we've got Sebosch sitting at 39, but of course when he sows, that's going to be a couple points for him, and he's got he's got 2 or 3 points extra from breeding in his minor. So wow. So Dejf is going to be a little sad about that. Reno fence done by Bigfoot. I mean, I guess Bigfoot and Dejf are probably, I shouldn't say they're definitely in very close competition. So that's a pretty huge block. Most likely, what it means is that, I mean, it's good for Sebosch probably, because it probably means that Sebosch is going to win again. Although it might be tight. Well, I'm sure it will be tight. I shouldn't say it might be. It will be tight. Yeah, Sebosch 43, Bigfoot 41. They both still have 2 actions left. Now 43 for Bigfoot. Yeah, he just got a 2-point grain move. So yeah, cool game. Very tight again. Fortunately, I think Turambar made a couple mental mistakes. Not knowing about handmade and then as he was saying, he forgot to play a guest. He forgot to play the guest when he paid for it. Oh, cool. Oh, really cool. Veggie Lover from Sebosch. I think this is a really cool card. Definitely, you know, makes the Greengrocer Steamer play even more worth it. Um, Lets you turn. The cool thing about this is that a vegetable is worth a point. But the big thing is that you're then turning a grain into a point, and grain is normally half a point. So this card lets you do 2 things. You get more bang for your buck from you get more bang for your buck from your grain, and then the other factor is if you have a really good game and it lets you go above and beyond. So it lets you get points for more than 4 points from vegetables and grain, which is huge in a game like Agricola because the way you want to play the game is to max out on a certain. You want to put all in on one strategy to get the most efficiency out of it, and then diversify late. Diversify almost as late as you can. Generally speaking, like if you're doing crops, you want to get your crops going as strongly as you can, and then at the end you fence and get 1 or 2 of each of the animals just to get enough. Did Turambar really get 43? What am I missing? Two points from Child's Toy. What am I not seeing? Not seeing that. But yeah, cool game by Sebosch. Dejf was playing it a little safe with his pole barns, not expecting the Veggie Lover, of course. Um, that Renault actually cost Dejf quite a bit. I mean, I guess he would have ended 45, 46. Yeah, another big play by another big game from Sebosch. Again, showing why he's so good. I think he got a little bit of help growing a turn early. Um, yeah, they're talking about Turambar. Unfortunately, Turambar, I think he's a little rattled. Ran off as soon as he could. Um, so that's going to put Sebosch at a nice. He's at a 5 point lead over. He's at a nice 5 point lead for Sebosch over his closest opponent, which is Bigfoot. Yeah. Anyways, I've rambled for more than long enough. Thanks very much for watching. Gonna be putting this up on YouTube right away. If you're in Twitch chat, say hi. Let me know what you thought of this game. Please feel free to give any feedback or contact me. You can comment on the YouTube or message on YouTube or Twitch or whatever. I'm also agricolaattorney@gmail.com. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed this video, and looking like Sebosch is in a really strong position through 2 games on the finals from the G4G5 finals. Yeah, so